How are you? I welcome you to our today's music lesson. We shall be learning intervals. And the lesson objectives being, you'll be able to identify the difference in pitch between one note and the other in any major scale. At the same time, you'll be able to identify the difference in pitch between one note and the other when played on a piano or any other instrument in any major key. What is an interval? An interval is the difference in pitch between one note and the other. As we had already seen earlier, there is a definite formula that we apply on the difference between one note and the other. That is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Between the first note, that is the lower tonic, do, re, it's a whole tone, re, mi, a whole tone, mi, fa, half a tone. Though we shall learn them as we go forward using an instrument. There are several kinds of intervals. As I've already illustrated for you here, there is a major interval, there is a minor interval, there is a perfect interval, there is a diminished interval, there is an augmented interval. And I would like us at this juncture, we remind ourselves the difference between one note and the other, as we had already seen in the prior lessons and at the introduction. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. As you're going to realize is that as we graduate up the solfa ladder, we accelerate the difference in pitch. As we decelerate, as we come down the solfa ladder, we decelerate in pitch. So that is, this is a definite formula we use for major scales, the major scales only. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. The difference between one note and the other is called a tone. It could be a whole tone or it could be a semitone, meaning half a tone. That is why we say do, re, tone, re, mi, tone, mi, fa, half, fa, so, one, so, la, one, la, ti, one, ti, do, half. So that is the difference in pitch. So between do, do, there is some difference in between. Between do, fa, there's a difference in pitch. Do, mi, there's a difference in pitch. Do, la, there's a difference in pitch. And that is what we are going to calculate today. That's what we are going to learn today. Whereby I would like us, as you listen, between the tonic and any other note, you'll be able to identify the difference in pitch, or what we are calling interval. Let us try to illustrate the intervals between one note and the other in a major key. And we're going to look at key C. As I had already told you earlier, is that key C do not have an accidental. That is why you can see there is no other accidental here, key C. We shall learn in the next lessons about keys. So we're using key C, and this is a ledger line that I have here. This is a ledger line, key C. This is the tonic note. Do. Now, the interval between do I'm using this note, semi-brief. Do and do. This one we call it perfect unison, meaning it sounds the same. There's no difference between do and do. So this is do and this is do. There is no difference in between because it sounds the same. Do, do, sounding the same. This is a perfect unison. And then from the lower tonic, do, re, we said in any major key, there is one tone. Let me draw for you an illustration of what we had already done earlier so that you can be able to calculate together with me. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. This is tone, tone, semitone. Tone, 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 semitone. So this is do, re. Between do and re in any major key is one tone. Do, re, one tone. This is called a major second. So any interval with a difference of one tone in a major key, we usually call it major second. Now, between do, mi, between tonic and the median, there is a difference of one tone, two tones. This one we usually call it major third. We usually call it major third. So any interval with a difference of two tones, we usually call it a major third. Do, fa. Between do and fa, there is a difference of 1, 2, half. 2.5 tones. The difference here is 1, 2.5 here. We usually call it perfect fourth. As such, any interval in a major key with a difference of 2.5 tones, we usually call it a perfect fourth. Let's go to the fifth interval. Do, so. The difference between do and so is do, so, meaning it is 1, 2, 3.5. So it is 1, 2, half, and another 1. We usually call it perfect fifth. So any interval between notes with 3.5 tones, we usually call it a perfect fifth in any major key. And it is also usually very sweet sounding. Let's go to do, la. The difference between do and la is 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So it is 1, 2, half, 1, 1. So any difference of 4.5 tones, we usually call it a major sixth. The difference between do and ti, the leading note, we have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. We have tone, 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 5, and this half. Meaning the difference between this and this is 5.5 tones. That is 1, 2, half, 1, 1, 1. We usually call it major seventh in any major key. Then we have between the lower tonic and the upper tonic, do, do. The difference between the lower tonic and the upper tonic is 1, 2.5, 3, 4, 5.5, 6. Adding this half, we'll get 6 tones. That is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Those are 6 tones. We usually call it a perfect octave. So having known that calculation and knowing the difference in pitch, the difference in tones between notes, good enough that we have derived intervals from the root note, that is the lower tonic, to any other note in between the lower tonic and the upper tonic. Let us do a simple exercise to identify these intervals before we play them on piano. The interval between do, mi, we call it a major third. The interval between do and do, we usually call it perfect unison. The interval between do, fa, we usually call it perfect fourth. The interval between do, so, we usually call it a perfect fifth. The interval between do, ti, this is major seventh. The interval between do, this is a perfect octave. We now do a piano exercise on intervals. Perfect unison. It has no difference between itself. That is perfect unison. Between do and re, it's a major second with a difference of one tone. This is a major third. Between do and mi, difference of two tones. Is a perfect fourth. Between do and fa, a difference of 2.5 tones. Is a perfect fifth. Between do and so, a difference of 3.5 tones. This is a major sixth. Between do and la, a difference of 4.5 tones. This is a major seven. Between do and ti, a difference of 5.5 tones. Do and do, the lower tonic and the upper tonic, a difference of 6 tones. I hope you have learned something new today. Continue learning with the music tutor. I wish you good luck.